I thought I would try something a little bit different today for our YouTube channel. In the past, I have some clips from podcasts, I have some shorts, and I have some things that basically just do like what is short form content. But I wanted to start putting together a playlist or a series where I explain a lot of the lessons I've learned in over 10 years of real estate, hundreds of transactions done, and also running a community where I teach people the exact basics that I do in my business to close deals consistently. So if you're watching this, I'm assuming you're probably interested in real estate investing or you're trying to figure out the best strategies to start. And so today I'm going to put together a 6-step process for getting started in real estate investing that I wish someone had given to me when I first started. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments or join my Skool community where you can actually go and interact live on Tuesdays and Thursdays and learn more information about what we do and who we are, and hopefully get on the right track if you're not already there. Starting off, this is my disclaimer. A lot of my steps are my opinion. These are things that I have personally experienced, things that I've seen people do wrong, and hopefully this is making it as basic and easy to consume and take action as possible. Again, if you have questions, drop them below. Step number 1. It sounds self-explanatory. You would think it is. I see a lot of people that get to the real estate investing side that for whatever reason decide to go virtual, with the exception of being in like a super small town in the Midwest or the Southeast of the country, maybe even some in the Northeast part of the United States, where your population size, your MLS active listing count, or just the amount of homeowners in general is slim. That is the only exception to go virtual. Where I see most people go wrong isn't even necessarily that. It's more often that they're trying to go nationwide. I've never understood it. I've never successfully accomplished it. In fact, the only time I think it makes sense is if you are more disposition, more end buyer focused on the wholesale side. That is the only time I can really understand it. But even then, it's truly not possible to begin with. So step number 1, please pick one market. This is usually going to be your local market. This is the state that you have a real estate license in if you're already a licensed realtor, or this is going to be zooming out slightly to the next major metro market in your current area. So for example, like let's just say I was speaking to someone earlier this week that's like in Topeka, Kansas. Well, if you only have 300 active listings, there's only a few hundred realtors, there's only maybe 1,000 properties total. You might zoom out to Kansas City or St. Louis. Those are different markets that might have more opportunity, but it's still local to where you're at. Step number 2. This timeline is assuming you are intending to wholesale. So in order to wholesale, my realtor brain is under the same impression and analogy that you can only do this with a handful of buyers. Hopefully this eliminates any limiting beliefs or just gives you a huge sigh of relief that you don't need to have some extensive buyers list to start. What you need is one buyer for one deal. That's what one of my mentors taught me when I was first starting to do this business. And I hit some roadblocks where I was constantly jumping from acquisition to disposition, trying to build a buyer's list before I had deals. So what I want to offer as words of encouragement and some advice is that you could do this with just a handful of buyers. Again, this is assuming you're planning to wholesale. I'll put another video, most likely the one after this, that's talking about the different strategies, making sure you understand the importance and significance of acquisitions first. So finding buyers to work with, you just need a handful, whether this is a fix and flipper, a buy and hold investor, a developer, creative finance person, someone that's just looking to purchase the property. We want you to focus on finding the buyers first. After that, make sure there's qualifications, but we go through all of that inside of my Skool community so you can actually verify the people you are working with are legit. The third strategy here is focusing on acquisitions. I kind of went through a little bit of like a sneak preview on the last step here, but acquisitions is in the form of finding the deals. What I found is that as a real estate agent, the hardest part of being a realtor is to find an actually qualified buyer or seller that is going to trust and employ you to be the agent to represent them in the transaction. When I got to the investment side, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought this was going to be an all rainbows and butterflies and an easier path to follow with more deals being done just by the snap of a finger. And that wasn't the truth. The reality is, in order to do acquisitions at a high level, you still have to go and prospect. So whether you're a realtor and call this lead generation, you're an investor or another business owner calling it prospecting or possibly farming, there's a lot of opportunity in understanding the value of acquisitions. So whether you're going off market, you're going on market, you're working with other wholesalers or other investors in the industry, you need to focus on finding the properties that make sense. So I want you to focus on one. I know, I'm the messenger. Maybe you like what I say, maybe you don't. if you've made it this far in the video, you might agree with a few things at least. What I encourage you to do is find the one that makes sense for you. So not to completely spoil the next video, but if you have capital, maybe off market does make sense if it's at least 5 to 10 grand a month. If you don't have a bunch of money and you're trying to get started with as little out of pocket as possible, this would most likely be going to the MLS or working with real estate agents or other wholesalers that could bring you deals. What I want you to do is pick one. Create a business model, an actual plan to follow, and that will be something that actually gets you better every single day. I hate to be this direct, but if you don't know my style, this is how I operate. One of two things is going to happen if you focus on acquisitions. One, congratulations, it gets easier. It's like riding a bike. The first time's the hardest. You fall down a few times, you make mistakes, you get back up, you get better at it. Or two, you fail. You suck at it. That's okay. Welcome to awareness. Welcome to some identity in the industry, which is that you tried something, you didn't like it. We call this like going to Baskin Robbins. Try all the flavors and find out what you like, which is what we call the acquisition strategies. Once you have a strategy, you need to be receptive. You need to be coachable. This is step 4. If you don't understand what you're doing and actually learning from mistakes, that is one of the biggest reasons people fail in this industry. Ego kills a lot of deals in general, but if you don't know what you're doing and you're confidently wrong, that is one way to fail in real estate. In fact, that's one of the biggest mistakes I made, was biting off more than I could chew multiple times rather than just keeping it basic and actually going and being consistent while gaining feedback from the people I was doing business with. So if you're a business owner or a team lead, gaining feedback from your team members and from your employees is equivalent to being an investor brand new in the industry, getting feedback from the buyers, from the vendors, from the agents that you're working with. In order to build any business, you have to fail forward. And again, my disclaimer is you probably won't be good at the beginning. But if you're coachable and you're getting feedback, you're doing what most people struggle with, which is actually growing. Once you start to get that feedback and actually build the ability to be coachable, and you're starting to be more receptive to it if you weren't already, now we start to talk about routine. This is where we build consistency. We actually start to find rhythm in what we do. The more likely that you are to build a routine, the more likely you are to remain disciplined. And so at the beginning, that's what I have here, is that once you find a routine that works for you, it makes becoming disciplined a lot easier. So if you're working a 9 to 5, what 2 hours per day can you commit to this? 30 minutes during a lunch break, an hour and a half in the evening. I hear you, that might not be the most enjoyable task at the beginning, but the easiest way to get out of the 9 to 5 is by making the 5 to 9 your actual part-time job. 4 hours total in a day, best case scenario, times 5 days in a week is 20 hours. That will replace your 9 to 5 income if you do everything we're talking about here successfully in about 6 to 12 months, maybe faster. So from there, what we're able to go and do is gain proof of concept. If you're doing all of these things consistently, you're gaining confidence, you're focusing on one strategy in one market with actual real buyers while getting feedback and starting to find a routine that works for you, it becomes a lot easier. I know, sounds crazy, right? Once you get that first deal, for me, it was in 30 days or less when I focused on these 6 steps, you're able to gain proof of concept, which now gives you a different level of confidence going into the next deal. The harder you work, the luckier you get is something we talk about in my community. And the more you do this strategy over and over and over again, one of those two things will happen. It either becomes harder and you're not good at it, so you pivot, or it becomes easier, you get better at it, which leads to more deals closed. Then we could talk about systems. Then we could talk about KPIs. Then we could talk about scaling and automation and all those fancy, shiny objects that people are talking about to try to sell you today. I want you to gain proof of concept and confidence first. So this is my basic 6-step process to get you started in real estate investing. Please note, obviously, you want to make sure you're following whatever state regulation, guidelines, disclosures, regulation in general that is required. And you could do that through talking to your local advisors, real estate agents, attorneys, title companies, and make sure to always ask why. Hopefully this makes sense. If you guys want more information about the strategies, or if you got some value just in this quick little video, drop a comment below, check out agentinvestors.com, check out our real estate investing school, and I'll see you guys in the next video on the playlist. Thanks.